I'm sure you remember last time we went through the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth bosses. Today, we're going to be going through the mini-games. Now, last time I did enjoy going through the bosses, and I was going to do the remake ones, but I realized it takes a while to make these graphics, so I decided to focus on a Rebirth for now. I decided to focus on Rebirth for now, and then go over to remake after I get a chance to. So we're here. We got a bunch of mini games to go through, less than the bosses, so this shouldn't take as long. Saying that, it took like an hour maybe. I don't know. I'm still surprised that last episode took an hour, but I guess there was a lot to get through. So I can imagine that the actual character rank is going to take a while as well, maybe. But yes, let's go through this, shall we? Right. So starting off with the first one, and I'm going to be just a little bit smaller, so I get the right size. Person. Go. Right, the first minigame is Fort Condor. So, if you remember back to Final Fantasy VII Intergrade, there was a minigame in there called Fort Condor. I assumed this was going to be like a beta version of the actual Fort Condor in Rebirth. That did not end up being the case because you didn't end up going to actual Condor Island. It became an island. It was actually part of like Union Week in the original game, but they moved it to an island, so I guess it'll be part of part 3. I was a little bit sad because I like Fort Condor a lot. Well, no, I didn't actually. I don't know why I'm saying that. No, I did not enjoy Fort Condor at all. I thought it was a bit obtuse and it was a tower defense game. But I liked the version of it in Intergrade. I thought that was really fun. Quick, to the point, and made sense. I have issues with this one though. Compared to the Intergrade one, that felt like more of an actual fully fledged game, this felt like an obtuse nightmare. I think the whole idea of it being based around a certain number of troops and then having the special troops is interesting, but I kind of liked how the original game did it, where Intergrade did it, where you could just have your nice array of troops and then put them down and then fight to the center. In this game, it just felt a little bit annoying and very difficult. There's only 4 matches of this, so as it went along, it became increasingly more difficult. So I just didn't love it, to be honest. I kind of wish I can go for something else, probably. Just a whole lot of waiting around. Rule breaking, by the way, because they can place troops past your troops, but you can't do it to them. That's a bit of bullshit game, I will say. But, yeah, I'm going to put Fort Condor and Mare, I think, as the first minigame. Not a good start, but I don't really know how else to put it, to be honest. Hustle the Chocobo. Right, so here's the thing. Hustle the Chocobo is a race you do in Nibelheim. I was wondering whether to include it, but they do actually count it as a minigame. So I guess I'll put it in alright, because it doesn't do anything bad. It's just a tutorial minigame how to use a Chocobo. I included it here because I thought it counted as a minigame. I was even going to include the mushroom minigame, but I thought that was more just like a one-time instance. So I decided not to include that here. Same with like the scanners and following the scans and getting to those locations. I thought that was obtuse as well, for the most part. Next is Musclehead Coliseum. Right, so I didn't include the one in Corel Prison because that didn't really feel like it had too much of its own identity. Musclehead Coliseum did. The Musclehead Coliseum was based around massive 6-person fights of lots and lots of enemies, really testing that PS5 SSD and its hardware. It was really cool fighting all these enemies at once. However, there are complete asshole fights in here. The most notable one is Sending the Clowns, which you can find on my playthrough of this game. I hated that. It was awful. I never want to do it again. But considering the variety and how much I enjoyed randomly choosing who was in my party, it ended up being quite fun. I haven't done the post-game ones yet. We'll do that at some point. I said I'll probably do it like after 12 maybe, or join later on in this month maybe. But yeah, it was fine. I'm going to put it in great, I think, because I like the style of it. Like 1 or 2 bad missions don't take it down, really, in my opinion. And even then, that's the difficulty. That's just the game being difficult for difficulty's sake, and I can't really ignore like the good parts of it just because of that. I can't really just ignore the good part. Yeah, I said it right. Check the Keeper. You're taking pictures in Close to the Soul. It's kind of like the star games mini game you have later on in the game where you have to get the right percentage. I like this a lot. Very cute. A great way of going around Coast of the Soul to take some pictures. I kind of think it would work better with Cloud and Barret, but it's fine. It works what it is. I'm going to put it in, I think... I might put it in great. It reminds me of Lucky Emblems from Kingdom Hearts, because I like hunting for those in that game, so thumbs up for me. Basically, in Kingdom Hearts, there's all these emblems you can find, Kingdom Hearts 3, on basically all the world areas, and you get a really good item for doing all of it. It reminded me a lot of that. Card Carnivore. So also in Coast of the Soul, there is a thing called Card Carnivore. These are like tutorial-based systems where you have to play with certain cards, get certain outputs. I love this. I hated it at first, but as I went through it, I realized how much fun it was. I want an entire game based around this. Not only were the puzzle was like really fun, but it was like story relevant. Like you had like a puzzle with Cloud and Sephiroth in there as well, and it made sense story wise why the cards were going the way they were going. It was awesome. Like trying to get everyone's cards. Oh, the music right now. I've got the remake soundtrack going on in the background. Eventually, when Rebirth comes out, that's what I'm going to be playing in the background of these. But Card Carnivore, that can go in, I think, Boopin. I don't think it's perfect, because there are ones I don't love. But like unlocking the character cards for the main party was awesome. I love doing that so much. There were some that are worse than others, some really obtuse ones, but I did end up really enjoying that. Desert Rush, the evolution of the quick mini game for Remake. And I will say evolution for the good, because I hated this minigame in Intermission. I thought it was the worst minigame, and when it came back in there, and the reward for that was so difficult to get, I never wanted to do it again. But I will say Desert Rush is a pleasant surprise. I absolutely love this minigame. For words I cannot describe, I liked the lightning boxes. I liked the fact that the different boxes had different levels of texture, so you had to use different attacks for them. For the most part, you can just use Braver, but also I found using Blade Burst here was really useful. As the me went to Blade Burst, summon Blade Burst in this mini game, and I like doing that a lot. I'm probably going to be putting it in Poopin. I thought it was very fun. A lot of time actually to do it, and I think that timing you get was nice. I appreciate the fact they give you more time with this than the one in Intermission. I think this might have been like damage control after Intermission, because I don't think any of us want to do that again. So I'm glad that they put this in here at least. And then, on the completely opposite side of the spectrum, we have Gears and Gambits. Now, I am currently playing Final Fantasy XII that has a Gambit system in it, and it's kind of feels like a reference to that in some ways. But this is just Fort Condor, but worse, in my opinion. I did not know until, like, I think the second match, that I was using the wrong elements on the enemies, because the way the UI is designed, it's kind of hard to know what they're weak to, because they have like an arrow. There's not down arrow or an up arrow on the element. I think it is, but like, I'm not sure if that means they're more powerful or they're less powerful against it. It's very obtuse in that way. And then like the actual game itself, like it ended up not being that bad, because you can just use the preset thing. But if I'm using the preset load to do a fight, I think that the minigame has kind of failed to engage me in that regard, if I'm not interested enough to do loadouts for it. So I'm going to put it in Blair, actually. I really do not like this minigame. I'm sure people who like tower defense probably love it, but for the most part, I'm good. Strategy games are not my cup of tea, as you can see with this ranking already. Moogle Mischief. Oh, Kupo. Alright, there's 6 of these. You have to go hunt down the Moogles. It's kind of a nothing burger, to be honest. Like, hunting down the Moogles, you like dodging past them, weaving with the movement controls of the game, which aren't great, to be honest. They're not terrible, but they work for what the game is. But for the most part, using it in actual like dodging isn't fun. It's very, very not sensitive. You have to press it very early to be able to avoid something with Cloud. So I'm probably gonna be putting Moogle Mischief in alright. I don't want to put it any lower because it's very adorable and I like the style of it. It's very different to the mini games you have in the game. And the final reward for doing Moogle Mischief is fantastic. It's the creepiest, best thing that's ever happened to Cloud, and I'm glad he was happy for at least 5 minutes of his life. Oh shit, it's the big one. I mean, there's no like competition here. This is going imperfect. But to explain why it's going imperfect, Queen's Blood is the best Final Fantasy card game I've ever played. More than Triple Triad, more than fucking Texture Master. I mean, that's a given. It is one of the best card games I've ever played, because I don't like card games. They're kind of in the same ballpark as tactics games for me. But Queen's Blood is scratches that itch of its strategy, but there's also just a lot of fun tied to it. There's a unique card for basically any monster or enemy in the game. Like, I was thinking of doing a ranking for all the cards as well at some point, maybe in the future. But I loved this mini game. It's so fun. They put a lot of emphasis on it, which I'm very happy about, because they didn't do that. I feel like I wouldn't have engaged with it as much, but because of how much you had to do, I ended up doing a lot of Queen's Blood. I mean, it was like a whole chapter, basically, of doing Queen's Blood in Chapter 4 with the boat, and that led to one of the best like cutscenes in the entire game. So, yeah, Queen's Blood, you are a masterpiece in terms of card games, and I honestly hope you come back in Part 3. I don't know if you will, but maybe Part 3 will have its own thing going on. But I really hope they do bring back Queen's Blood, because that was such a great time. They really like captured lightning in a bottle with it, I think. 3D Baller. Now, I didn't finish 3D Baller because the minigame broke. The side quest involved in 3D Baller broke. Because apparently there was a fight with Shin, the middle manager, and then a fight with Sephiroth. Now, apparently, the Sephiroth fight is a lot harder than Ifrit. And Ifrit was already a pain in the ass to deal with. So, yeah. Not a big fan of this minigame, in fact. Well, saying that, I think that there's merit to the minigame. I think it reminds me a lot of Punch-Out. I will say that certain characters are kind of hard to read because of the pixelated design of them. You could say that because they're simpler, it's easier to read the animations, but it actually isn't, because you can't really make out like just minor sort of details between certain attacks, especially with Yuffie. Like, Ifrit was fine for the most part, I kind of got him down, but Yuffie was really hard to like gauge what her actual attacks were. And I can imagine that was him with Sephiroth as well, with probably got like Ultra Slash move, probably, right, I assume. And then also Shin Manager, I don't know how that's going to be, but I'll put it in alright, I think. Overall, I enjoyed my time with it, but I wouldn't go back to it again if I had to. Gold Saucer, Queen's Blood. So this is like the challenges involving Queen's Blood and the Gold Saucer. Now, these are just like regular Queen's Blood matches, I think, but you get like certain like bonuses in there, like cactus and other things. Actually, I'm not a big fan of these, because there's a lot of luck based around them, especially against the AI you have. So there are matches in this called, I think, like Showdown, or like kind of like a death match in some ways, where you get all your cards, but you do not get more cards after that. You play 3 matches, and you need to gather as much points as you get with those cards you have. This leads to it becoming fairly RNG based of what cards they get and what cards you get. You can get like royally fucked over basically with that minigame, but for the most part, it works. So I'm going to put it in probably alright. I'm not a big fan of them because, again, it's RNG based, and I don't prefer that to actual Queen's Blood. Speaking of Queen's Blood, the final match in Queen's Blood is awful. That almost dampened the entire experience for me, but luckily I made a quick load for it that made it a lot easier. A heavier load to get through that minigame. The final match was just entirely overtuned against me, and I did not like it at all. I still need to do the Ultra one in the Gold Saucer challenges, but we'll see how that goes. Right. Cactus Crush. The minigame with Kuji in the Corel Desert area. This is where you have to kill cactus in a certain way using magic. Or I preferred, I think, Aerith's ones to Yuffie's. Yuffie's ones were good for like just running around and killing all of them as fast as you could. Probably more fun in that way, I guess, but I think the Aerith ones are better because of how it was based around dark and light characters. And Aerith is not really a typical minigame action character, so getting that was really fun. I really like playing those, actually. I think the minigame ended up being really fun because of how many enemies you had to kill, and the kind of strategy based around the order in which you need to kill them. So, also, it wasn't unfair. The difficulty made sense, the timing was good, and the characters have really easy to dodge attacks. That made sense. So I just think it was a really good minigame. During Parade, yes. The Parade, which is the PTE minigame from Remake, the Honeybee in one. I liked it. I didn't include Loveless, did I? Shit. It's fine. Loveless is part of the main story, but so is Julian Parade. Oh. They included Junior Parade on like the list I was looking at, but they didn't include Loveless. I could have like put like a note here that says like Loveless. Same with maybe the Corval Prison Coliseum, but it's fine. They basically do the same minigame anyway. I could have included probably both this one, but I'm gonna put in Boopin'. I like the QTE stuff. It's very simple, but it works, and the reward for doing it is kind of fun. How if you do it poorly, the story kind of changes a little bit, and the reward, and you get like a different relationship sides with the characters and different rewards. So for the most part, it works. Junior Parade was good, and I enjoyed doing it. It was very silly and fun. Pirates Rampage, this game's version of the shooter mini game for Resident Evil 4 remake, or I guess the original as well. It kind of reminded me a lot of that actually, because again it's pirate based and the characters at the background are rooting for you as well. So yeah, very silly. I like the diverse different targets you can go for, like the fact that those flans would turn around and become gold. The Malbars, if you destroy them, you get more flans that you have to turn around and become gold. Cactus, the flying enemies. Again, the minigame felt like it was well balanced to the point where it didn't feel overtly difficult. There was no like brutally hard mode in there, which I do appreciate for completion's sake. Because at some point I'm going to have to do this, and I'm not looking forward to it. But for now anyway, yeah, I like Pirates Rampage. I'm going to put it in Boopin', I think. I think it was a really fun minigame. Wheel Rendezvous. Now this doesn't really feel like a minigame, and including this on the list but not Loveless feels like a complete cop-out. But this is where you need to bring wheelies back to the bay. It was nothing. It was a side quest with Johnny's girlfriend. That was it. That's it. Minecart Adventure. Ah yes, the part in Corral where you make Yuffie vomit, and that's where her nickname vomit came from. I like how you can change the tracks and change the ending. That's only the ending. The actual ride up there is completely the same. It's very similar to the Pirates Rampage, but a lot simpler. You do a lot of crate shooting. Actually reminded me a lot of the one from Intermission where you throw crates you throw your shuriken at crates on that one ride. I'm gonna put it in alright. I don't think it's like incredible, but it's still fun to do. Now, you might be wondering why didn't I include the buggy minigame, because it wasn't on the fucking list as well. I'm annoyed it wasn't on there. Maybe I'll come back later and add the minigames that I missed at some point, but for now, yeah. Crunchroff. Oh, you're gonna go and Blair? This is the minigame from Remake, and I remember seeing this again and having like PTSD flashbacks. It's actually much worse now because they use the adaptive triggers to make the crunches harder on your trigger fingers. Not only are they like press this button repeatedly, and they are also harder to hit with the triggers, but they also have these ones where you need to hold it and then entirely push in. Now, I don't hate that as a mechanic, but I'm wondering I'm curious to see how they're going to do this on the PC version actually without that adaptive triggers. But like, oh my god, it's so annoying. And I don't like how perfect you need to be in the final match. This is an example of the game like being too difficult and unfair, where you have to be not only perfect in not missing anything, but you also got to be like on time constantly and speeding up a bit as well. What is the song? Oh, this is from Coliseum. I didn't even realize it was. I've never heard the song before, I don't think. So yeah, you can go and Blair. I don't like you at all. Chocobo Racing. This is going to go in perfect. I love Chocobo Racing in this game. It kind of makes me wish for a good Chocobo GP mobile game, because this is everything that game should have been. Oh, microtransactions, like really fun courses of good power-ups. Pirates never got bored of it as well. I like the different diversity of the Chocobos. Really fun. And you get a good reward for it for that one mini game where one side quest, you get like Mecha Chocobo. Also, the fact that it was tied to side quests as well was really fun. So yeah, Chocobo Racing was good. Galactic Saviors. Star Fox. I'm gonna put it in great. I'm gonna put it in alright because I'm not a big fan of Star Fox type combat. I know. That's one of the reasons I haven't played Star Fox, because I don't like the combat style. There's a lot of dodge rolling. It wasn't the hardest thing in the world. I just remember having like annoyance with the middle manager side quest being like, oh, you have to do this again, even though you've already proven yourself before. I got like a fucking high score though on that final one. I was very happy about that. Yep. Not really a whole lot to say. You fought the Gilgamesh Empire. Oh hey, Gilgamesh. It's Star Fox. E-bike. The adaptation of the motorcycle from Remake. Also going in great. I think these two are kind of interlinked in that way. Very, very, again, well-balanced mini game that felt fair and also really fun to do. You collect boosts. Yeah, one of the most satisfying things I found in a mini game in this game was using the spin attack to kill like about 20 Shinra motorbike people. That was really fun. Using the nitro boost to also ride through them was also really satisfying. A very satisfying mini game, and again, not that difficult. So thumbs up for me. I will say, trying to find a drift button the first time I did it was difficult because they don't show you what that is, and you have kind of an over time realize that you cannot turn without the drift button in that mini game. So yeah, key bike, really good. Wish the drift button was easier to identify. They even mentioned it during the tutorial. Like it's like you just turn around these things. I can't turn. I can't drift. Piano, boopin, literally boopin. In fact, I can't really say a whole lot about the piano outside that they made an entire piano mini game for this game. So much so that people have like started composing like actual songs for the series in here. I think I saw like a One-Winged Angel version on this piano mini game. I'm not the biggest fan of it. As someone who plays the piano a lot, I did not find the actual design of this good, because you're having to focus on two wheels at once, and having the little notes appearing at the same time is kind of hard to deal with, my opinion. Saying that, glad people enjoy it. Wasn't the biggest fan, but it was a good piano mini game. It was nice. It was cute. I'm gonna put it in Boopin just because I did enjoy certain elements of it, and I always like playing the piano, so I'm gonna put it in Boopin, I think. Jump Fog. Now this mini game is very short. It's the Fall Guys mini game where you jump across the wheel. Literally, is the Fall Guys mini game. Might even be a reference to that, considering that is now in 14. I'm going to put it in great. It's simple, it works, you jump over a wheel, you get maximum points. That's how it is. Dolphin Show, again another minigame in Junon. So the first minigame with this is really cool. I like how you have to use the boost and try and avoid getting hit and get as much speed as possible for Cloud to jump. Then the second one comes around, and again, well balanced, works. And you speed around the corners a lot, and you eventually win for the most part. It isn't the hardest thing in the world. Actually, it can be quite tight towards the end, but I liked the actual difficulty with this minigame a lot. So I'm gonna put this in. Oh, moves it right now. Probably Boopin actually. I quite liked doing this. More than key bike? Yeah, not more than key bike. Okay, never mind. Putting it higher than key bike is unfair, considering key bike is like an evolved version of this minigame. But yeah, I did not expect them to put this amount of effort in the Dolphin mini game from the original game, but here we are. In the original, it was like press A at the exact time to be able to jump high. I think that was it. Glide the Chocobo. This is going to go in there. So you had Hustle the Chocobo and you had Chocobo Racing. Glide the Chocobo, you need to hit these targets as you're flying down in Cosmo Canyon. And I remember watching Maelstrom do it and seeing the worst challenge at the end and getting those points. I have no interest in doing that. I'm probably going to have to do it at some point for the completion's sake, but oh my god, it was annoying. Trying to turn in tight corners, and also like the fact that the final one started, you have to jump at a specific time, was not fun. So yeah, Run Wild. I'm going to put this in Boopin. It was Rocket League. A lot of these mini games can be described as like a certain other main game, but this is definitely Rocket League. But you play as Red. I really like playing this. It was really adorable fighting the Chocobo and the other dogs. And then you had like, the pool one afterwards, where you have to hit them in a certain order to the goals, which also was really fun. Would I put it higher than G-Bike? Yeah, I would, because I ended up like really enjoying it. And it was a unique mission with Red. I think everyone got a mini game at the end of this game. Like you had Cloud, obviously, Barrett with Minecart Adventure, and also the other one, but I didn't include in Coral Desert. Tifa with the Crunchroff, Aerith with Cactus Crush, and Yuffie with Cactus Crush as well. And then Red with Run Wild. Everyone got their own little mini game together. That was adorable. I'm hoping in part 3 we get a snowball minigame and other such things as well. But that's it. I'm not going to go through like the individual ranking because there isn't that many in here anyway, and they're so similar, and the minigames are so like simple enough where I don't think there's like going to be a massive distinction between these anyway. But yeah, that's it. I hope you all enjoyed. Queen's Building Chocolate Racing being a perfect, I think, is fine by me. But a lot of great minigames, a lot more greats than in than in the bosses, I will say. Not that there's any like comparison between the two of them, but I'm hoping in part 3 we get less minigames because there needs to be more focus on story, I think. But this kind of feels like the perfect balance in my opinion. Having Rebirth be focused on story, on minigames, being the intermediary like link between part 1 and part 3 works quite well in my opinion. Hopefully we still get minigames like the snowball minigame and maybe more gold saucer shit as well, I don't know. And we have to go back to the gold saucer at some point as well, I assume. But we'll see. But that is it. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll be back for probably a character ranking soon as well. But yeah, ciao for now. Goodbye.